Hi everybody, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Chris Wheeler from Enterprise Solutions Group, Head of Workflow and CIP Solutions for Ricoh UK. In a bit we'll be joined by Luke Johnson, who works with me and focusing on the inbound mail webinar. Businesses like yours are actively looking to digitise your processes to allow your staff to work more effectively from anywhere. The reality is that technology can be applied to do almost anything. However, it is constrained by the systems, the people, the partners and the customers that you may have. A good example of this is inbound mail. If your largest customer or customer base insists on sending mail or government compliance mandates it, you need a way to seamlessly capture this into a digital process. Otherwise, you'll need to retain manual processes throughout your workflow to support it. I have these kind of conversations with 6 to 7 clients per week, and many of the learnings are repeatable. What I'm going to try and do is help you over the next few minutes to show you how to avoid mistakes that many others have made in implementing this kind of solution, or indeed any digital transformation project. You can see in front of you an overview of our approach to workflow solutions, which supports 4 key areas. These are capture, transform, interact, and providing visibility across the whole piece. Any workflow requires these elements to a greater or lesser degree. If you think about the very first photocopier that Ricoh ever deployed in the UK, it was used to capture a piece of paper, copy it, and transform it into a second piece of paper, which gave 2 people the visibility of the information that was on it and the ability to interact and make decisions around it. The reality is that with modern systems and technologies, it's still the same goal that you're driving at. It's just happening faster, and the transformation is from different forms of data. Within any of these processes, if human input is required, this makes the process more inefficient, slower, and introduces more risk of error. For example, when you're keying keystrokes on a keyboard, roughly about 1 in every 20 keystrokes is an error. A well-designed workflow would reduce this inefficiency between systems and processes and meld them together more seamlessly. So, first of all, we're going to talk about capture and how can I capture information in the right way. Capture is the start of a process. Now, capture could really be anything. It could be inputting data into a system, it could be scanning a piece of paper, it could be taking a photograph, or it could be accepting data from another system, for example. The more pertinent data you can capture at this stage, the more options and flexibility you have throughout the entire process. The key is to capture only the data you need, and particularly with legislation like GDPR, if you're handling personal data, don't capture anything that you're not going to require to support the process. Depending on how you're capturing this data and whether there needs to be any manual intervention to do so, unrequired data can impact the capture time and the efficiency of the solution. One important thing to consider is if you're looking to use stuff like machine learning or other technologies in this process, either now or in the future, you'll need to consider the way in which the data is structured so that it's useful to you when applying these kind of technologies. One key mistake is to make capture an afterthought when designing a solution, and I've lost count of the number of times when people have got SharePoint projects or implemented other document management solutions and either tried to apply their existing processes to the workflow or just focused on the metadata for output without considering the capture input process. It makes sense that you do this as you're looking at the output that you're trying to achieve, but by not looking at the project cohesively, it can create inefficiency or manual intervention at the start of the process. It can also drastically lengthen the project timelines and any costs associated with it. Another thing I talk about quite a lot is retaining the data set. But what do I mean by that? Once you've captured information and potentially a document into your process, it's really important that the data set is retained through the various transformations. One of the key issues we see is where elements of the data are lost as part of the transformation. And this is why paper processes like inbound and outbound mail can be so time consuming. Very active printing takes the electronic data that you had in your electronic system and turns it into a flat image with effectively no metadata associated with it at all. Then when you're looking to capture it further on in the process, maybe by scanning, you have to use advanced tools such as OCR or machine learning to rebuild the data set that you lost through the active printing, and those solutions can be expensive. That's not to say, however, that paper can't be an effective part of a digitally transformed process. It just has to be factored into the overall solution. and some organisations already do this with barcodes. By using a barcode, you can retain information that you would have lost, and if that paper comes back into your process further down the line and needs to be scanned, you're kind of able to retain that data. One of the things we sometimes find is that people try and put an awful lot of data into a barcode, meaning that you get really long barcodes, or you have to use more advanced systems like QR codes, etc. These tend to be less easy to scan accurately and more prone to error, which again means you need expensive software, or you need lots of validation and manual checking to make sure it's gone incorrectly. You're far better off creating a unique document ID specific to that document and parking the data in the database. You can then use that as a lookup to drive your capture software at the back end. That tends to be much more cost-effective software and also tends to be much higher accuracy. One of the things that people often think is that they're sitting there is how can you use new technology to support your clients, and how do you use it to interact both within the business and externally. But what does that mean in practical terms? I think this brings us to a really important element around how interaction happens with documents and data. Your process typically covers multiple departments and touches multiple organisations and customers. I've seen lots of organisations who are really good at managing workflow within their organisation, but as soon as they have to interact with third parties who may not be as advanced as them, or they have existing back office IT systems that only work in a particular way, that's where the inefficiencies and challenges are created. I dealt with one company who was a born-in-the-cloud financial services company about 5 or 6 years old, and they had all of their internal processes developed and designed using the latest technology and had detailed end-to-end maps of all of their workflows. Their issue was as soon as they had to interact with either their customers or their partners, neither of whom they could control to the same extent, the whole process broke down and they had to revert to manual capture and data entry. Their challenge was how to maintain their efficiency internally, but create a great experience for their partners and customers to interact with them, and that was the project that we worked on with them. I think one of the most meaningful changes over the next few years is going to be around ensuring standards between organisations to allow documents and data to flow between them in a more seamless way. We can see that in areas such as accounts receivable and accounts payable using the PEPL standard. The challenge for organisations is how to enable their existing back office IT systems to deliver the documents and data in a way to support these interoperability standards. Another key area is visibility, but why should you consider the importance of visibility? I think all of the other elements we've talked about so far, so capture, retaining the data set, interaction, all of those feed through to visibility. And visibility can be comprised of a couple of elements, such as business intelligence or management information, as well as being able to easily view and access pertinent documents and data. Again, capturing the right data, retaining it through the process and allowing effective interaction between departments and customers is key to providing the right visibility for that process. Sharing data to reduce telephone calls, to enable effective decision making, or to provide documents for full review with workflow and approvals is becoming an accepting part of doing business. All organisations like yours need to be considering how they do this better to serve their customers and work more effectively with partners. I'm now going to ask Luke to bring us up to speed on how our entry-level inbound mail solution can support viewers on their transformation journey and start you on this process.
No problem. Thanks, Chris. I'm responsible for delivering many inbound mail projects and speak to many customers on this topic throughout the past year. And it's great to hear your insight, Chris, of the importance of digitizing manual and paper-based processes. I'm sure that you are here right now to learn how you can adopt better remote working practices. Now, as Chris has highlighted, I would like to give you more information on how you can evaluate the technology which brings inbound mail to life, and what you need to consider, and importantly, what should be avoided. Let's just be clear, it's important that we don't get confused by what we mean by inbound mail. There are a lot of industry expressions that we hear regularly, such as hybrid mail and ad hoc mail, but specifically inbound mail is our focus for this topic. Inbound mail is simply the difficulties businesses like yours face as physical mail continues to be delivered to your front door, and the difficulties of moving that post across the organisation, whether people are in the office or working remotely. As Chris has mentioned, our team are in discussions with lots of organisations that are expected to process critical documents such as invoices, contracts and orders, all via physical mail, which is stacking up at the office, and this has been highlighted as a significant business risk. Now, it's very important that you avoid some of the traps that we have seen in some organisations. A lot of people we've spoken to have implemented basic scan to email. Now, although scan to email is a quick win solution to allow scanned mail to be sent to people's inboxes, it's proven to be very cumbersome, and in some cases, confidential documents have been scanned and sent to the wrong members of staff, which of course will bring its own challenges. As we all know, once an email has been sent, there's no ability to recover that document back. Let me assure you that we have developed a very simple and effective inbound mail solution which can be onboarded very quickly and, more importantly, remotely, as the technology is fully hosted in the cloud. Our inbound mail solution can be easily scaled up, perfect for any small single office business right through to a large enterprise customer with national locations. So all you need is a local multifunctional printer or scanner where the bulk of your mail is being received. This will allow you to quickly move those physical mail documents into the inbound mail solution. Other than that, you just need to provide a web browser for any of your remote or home working staff who urgently need to get their hands on these business critical documents for processing. Our specialised consultative team want to help you to unlock one of the biggest challenges being faced by businesses today. Do you think that this is something your organisation could benefit from? Well, on behalf of Chris and myself, we hope that you found this to be useful. If so, go ahead and click on the topic Manage Your Inbound Mail webinar. Thank you.